Welcome back to your God to Love podcast. This podcast is all about holistic health, sacred sexuality, and spirituality. I have Ken Chada here. He is a K-pop actor turned author who had a spiritual awakening. So I'm so excited to talk with you. Welcome.
Hey, it's good to be in here, Haley. I know we had a little bit of a thing that happened last time to connect. I'm glad we could do it again. We had a real brief conversation before this started. Already loving your energy. This is going to be a great episode. I can't wait to do this, Haley.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, so tell everybody, because I actually found you through another podcast, which I'll link below. But for everybody that is listening and maybe they're new on the spiritual path, how did you even get into spirituality?
Oh, that's a great question. And what I'll do is, I want to preface at the beginning. So I'm going to get into my backstory a little bit, obviously here. But my goal with this podcast and with my new mission in life is to show people how to awaken now, like in this lifetime, right? Not next lifetime, not 100 lifetimes from now, but how to do it very, very, very practically, right? I have gone to in the last since my awakening started 2.5 years ago. I have been blessed to go to some very enlightened people in some of the highest states of consciousness who took me in as their personal student and showed me the way of what to do now in a digital age to get you to wake up, find your true purpose, and whether it's enlightenment or finding your purpose, releasing traumas. They've taught me so many things that have helped me. And so I'm saying at the beginning of the podcast because I hope that people stick with it, right? It's not just me telling my story. It's like me trying to help the audience do this as quickly as possible, as fast as possible. So I think it's really going to help a lot of people. That's my mission, at least. That's my mission. And yeah, so I'll cover the background as briefly as possible, but also give the juicy details and then we'll get into how the awakening happened. But my background is I grew up in a very small town in Kentucky. It was a heroin addicted town. I actually lost my sister to heroin. She had a lot of trauma, and I lost her to heroin about 2 years ago. And then I had lost my brother also to an opiate overdose. It was an accidental one. So I come from a very low vibrational part of the world, right? Very poor education. But there was something inside of me that was always like, I got to get out of here. Even when I was a kid, I was like, I got to get out of here. Right? Nobody in my family ever went to college. It was like, I'm going to go to college. Went to college. I studied mathematics, and I was always very Catholic, so it was a very religious family. And so when other kids were collecting books and dreams of hitting home runs in MLB, I was collecting books of saints and martyrs. So I wanted those spiritual powers that the saints had. And these psychic things were happening to me. I was going out of body as a kid. I couldn't explain it, but I was always explained under the Catholic thing, right? This something's happened in the Catholic realm. And then I go off and become a news reporter because I wanted to be a news reporter and help people spread the word of what's happening in the world so you can be better informed. Became very traumatized of what I saw in the news world. I hated how the news industry was run. I tried to do good stories because I felt like I was a good soul, and they always shot it down. They're like, "No, if it doesn't bleed, it doesn't lead." It's God, this is horrible. What have I done with my life? So then I saw a picture of somebody on Facebook that was one of the few people from my hometown that made it out of the world. They're traveling the world, and I said, "How the hell did you travel the world? How are you doing it?" And she goes, "I just came to Korea, took random jobs because they just pay white people to do things, right? Teach English or be a model here or do that, and they make good money. And then I just take breaks and travel the world." It's like I am doing that. So I booked a one-way ticket to South Korea. I didn't know anybody except for her, and she only stuck around for a month. I didn't know anybody, and I fell in love. Something ignited inside of me, and one day there was a guy, because I would take jobs just teaching English. I was making way more money than I was as a news reporter. Or as Jim would say, "Hey, you look good. You should be the face of our gym." And they'd pay me $200, right, for 30 minutes of work. And so then this happened a lot. And then one day I was at a bar, and this guy comes up to me because I developed a problem with alcoholism. This is the number one drinking culture in the world. And I went wild over there. I was drinking, I was womanizing because they kind of idolize Americans. And so I took advantage of that. And I developed an actual sex addiction. There's a difference between a guy who has access and a guy who has an actual addiction, right? So my addiction was yes, I was sleeping with way too many women, and then it was my life. I had to have it, right? It didn't matter every day. It's all I thought about every day. if I would hug a stranger, I was always thinking about them naked. Like it was awful. And it ran my entire life. If it wasn't getting laid, I was very, very, very angry and upset. And so it just ran my life. And so alcoholism and that, all these addictions. So it wasn't great. And then one day, this guy comes up to me at the bar and he says, "You look like an actor. Are you an actor?" He's like this short Swedish guy. And I go, "No, no, I don't act." And he says, "Do you want to be in a movie?" I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, "We need a fit guy." He's pretty fit, right? And he goes, "I need a fit guy that plays an American. It's gonna be in a movie that just yells at the main actor. It's a swimming movie. It's a Korean movie, right? And so we need a guy. Other guy dropped out. Can you do it?" I go, "Yeah." "You need acting experience?" And he laughed in my face. He goes, "You need acting experience over here in Korea. You just need the look." And then, like, it doesn't matter. It's like, okay. So I filmed it the next week, and I fell in love when I was on the movie set. The bright lights. And in Korea, they're like very like, oh, they're very respectful. Like, "Oh my God, oh yeah, thank you." They're like, "Oh, you're so good looking. Oh, we love you. Oh, you're so great," right? I'd never acted before. Like, "Oh, you're so good." I was like, my ego just fucking blew up. And I was like, this is the greatest thing. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And the guy promised me fame, and he was like, "I'll sign you, whatever." And I was like, "Okay, I'll do that." And he didn't give me any work. I had to like do it all on my own, right? Sometimes he give me work, and he's doing these under the table. He's a pretty shady guy, actually. But I got a visa that was an acting visa, and that was important, so I could legally do it. And I didn't work for a while. I was starting to run out of money. I was living in a shoebox apartment, an actual like it's the size of not a walk-in closet, like barely a walk-in closet. Like you go in, you lay down, and that's all the space that you have. It's like a closet that you sleep. That's all my money was out. And then I caught a break playing Magneto in a commercial for X-Men Days of Future Past. And then it all just took off from there. And then it went more and more and more. And next thing I knew, in 7 years, I was in over 130 movies, K-pop music videos, dramas, reality shows, billboard ads, commercials. Like their most famous TV show and longest running is called NBC Surprise. It's a reenactment TV show where like I would play a Beatle, like one of the Beatles, right? I played Jesus Christ. It's like a reenactment show, and they needed foreigners to play the characters, and it's like a documentary, right? And I was a main actor on that show. So, and then I also had the top kids show in the country called Action English, and it's still on TV today, 8 years later. Like they're still playing reruns. It was like the Wiggles meets the Beastie Boys. So it was like hip hop. You know the Wiggles? You know the Wiggles? Yeah, you know the
Yeah.
Wiggles? Yeah. It's very silly. It was like I was Mr. Red, there was Mr. Blue, Mr. Yellow. Even my dog was on the show. We were teaching kids how to learn English. It was wildly famous, like wildly famous. Okay. So there's like coloring books of me and my dog and my friends in these schools all over Korea right now as we speak, right? And I did 3 kid shows. I did action movies. I even did like late night Skinamax kind of stuff. like my career is like I would film a nude scene. Like it didn't show everything, but like I would be like a sex scene for a late night like raunchy comedy, like with a lot of nudity, and then I'd wake up the next day and film a kid show. Like like
Wow.
it didn't make any sense. Nothing made any sense. But I just did everything. I didn't care. I just did everything, right? And I worked my way up, and then so becoming relatively pretty famous. I was like the white guy that was in everything, right? In everything. And then one day, I was dating a Korean girl, and then I broke up with her, and she did not take the breakup well. And to be honest, I lied to her. I just did. That's just what I did. Okay. And I said I wanted to be with a lot of women instead of one woman, and I broke up with her and I lied to her about it. I made up some excuse. She didn't like it, and she said, "You ruined my life. I'm going to ruin yours." And I didn't know what she meant by that. And I'm on a movie set with a girl who's named Jennifer Ehle. They would bring over American actors. Like I worked with Liam Neeson, Peter Stormare. They bring him over for Korean movies. And this one movie, they brought up this girl from Mission Impossible 3, Pride and Prejudice, like a C-list actress, right? And the scene is I'm like blocking the door, CIA blocking the door. And they go cut. And then my agent comes up to me and he says, "Hey, the police are here." And I said, "Yeah, I know. I got to block the door because the block the police." And he says, "No, the real police are here. Do you deal drugs here in Korea?" It's like, "What?" And 5 undercover police detectives came out from the background, slapped handcuffs on me, held up a phone that said, "You're arrested in South Korea for dealing marijuana." And that was it. Like, they put me in the back of a van, they tied me up in a rope, they started hitting me. I thought it was a prank show until they started hitting me. And then they drove to my hotel room, which they already knew because they've been following me for weeks secretly. Raided my hotel room. They didn't find any drugs. By the way, I wasn't a drug dealer. So just to say, I would tell you if I was, but I wasn't. They started hitting me more, tied me up tighter in the rope, drove me to my place. They knew the key code to get into my place. They put in the key code, went into my apartment, raided it, trashed everything just like in the movies. Then a translator shows up. And I mean, I spoke some Korean, but like, I mean, I knew what they were saying, right? And but I was silent. In America, I was like, remain silent, just don't say anything until a lawyer comes. But here's the thing: over in Korea, there's foreigner law and there's American law, like foreigners, anyone that's not there, and a Korean law. Foreigners do not get a phone call and they do not get a lawyer. Okay, and my ex knew that, so I was just silent. I wasn't saying anything. And eventually, like my dog was there, they held up my dog and they said, basically, your dog's gonna die if you don't tell us what the drugs are. AKA, we will take you to jail, we will keep you there nobody's here to take care of your dog's gonna die. Right? Shit. So I didn't know what to do. So they put me in jail and they tortured me. They would pull hair out of my head. They had me tied up in this rope. It was really freezing cold. And there was only a cold shower that was coming out. Anytime I tried to fall asleep, I had this really tiny blanket and a very tiny pillow, and that's all I had. It was extremely cold. They kept the window open. It was really cold out. It was like the winter. And anytime I tried to fall asleep, they'd like bang on the bars and they'd yell at me. So they're like trying to sleep deprive me, right? The US Embassy was my only right. And they showed up. I was like, "What do I do, guys? Get me out of here." And they said, "We're not lawyers. Just read this pamphlet. That's all we can do." And then the pamphlet, it said what to do when arrested as a foreigner in South Korea. And it basically said, 1, they're going to keep you in here for up to a year until your court date. And then you got to confess, or you got to like present your case before the judge. Then you'll get a lawyer. Or 2 is you confess something now, and then they might let you out. And then you have court date after that. It's like, shit. My dog's life and my sanity is on the line. I didn't know what to do. I was scared shitless. So I just made something up. Like, all right. And I said I took a THC gummy at a festival. Just made it up. They got very angry, did more bad things to me. Took my phone from me, went through all my messages, and they made me give 5 names of other people that I dealt drugs to. I had to give them that. So I just made up 5 names of people that really lived in Korea, but like we're no longer in Korea. We're never going to go back. I just knew people that were never going back. So I just gave them those names. And they let me out. Luckily, they let me out. So they let me out of jail after a few days. And I went back home. My dog was like, I gave him some food and water. He didn't have any water for a few days. And they put a freeze on my passport, so I couldn't flee the country. And I had to wait 4 months to see if I was going to go to prison for 7 years for a crime I didn't commit, but I had to false confess to. My career was over. No more agencies wanted to work with me. I didn't work. It was the coldest winter in Korean history. And I was freezing. And I was scared out of my mind. And I got a letter 4 months later. It said, "Charges are dropped, but get out of our country," basically. Get out. And I left the country immediately, donated all my belongings. I had a baller pad. I had everything you would think, whatever you think my life was, all the women, the fame, like it was that. It was exactly that. It was amazing. From a small town in Kentucky, heroin addicted town in Kentucky, and I'm living that life. It's amazing, right? And so I donated it all to an aspiring actor friend of mine, left the country, and they interrogated me on my way out of the country. It was awful. And then I got back home because I didn't want to carry a bunch of cash with me, right? Only a drug dealer would take all this cash from his bank account and like, right, and then travel with that. So I got back home and I used my card to get access to my funds, and nothing. And I've used it in many countries. It doesn't work. I called the bank and they said, you got to come back to Korea to get your funds. We have this statement that says you have to come in person to get your funds. I'm like, what? I get a message that same day from a guy that says he's my lawyer. I don't even know if it really was my lawyer. I'm assigned to your case. You actually have to go to court and apologize to the judge for what you did. Like, oh hell no, I'm not gonna go. No chance I'm going back to Korea. So all of my life savings, everything was gone. So my whole life was gone. And I'll stop right there because I feel like I've been speaking, but I wanted to see if you had anything you wanted to ask. Yeah, I've been speaking a lot. I want to hear from you now.
Okay, no. This is so good. And I'm so glad you went into your backstory too, just so people know. But I think that is just so crazy, like the contrast of you saying, man, I had this lavish, like I literally had it all, and then gone.
Gone. Yeah, imagine what that does to the ego. Because the ego was bloated beyond belief, right? And then it was gone. And then I was back with $0. $0. Right? In the town that I tried to escape my entire life from, living in the baby room, like the nursery room of my small home in Kentucky with my parents, with no money, no network, no skill sets, right? Like,
Oh,
kid
because they don't
show
need actors
actor.
there.
Yeah. And it's like I can't move to LA because you actually have to be talented in LA, right? And even those people don't make it, and it's expensive. I don't have any money left. And so, like, I found that little golden place where the untalented could be famous, right? I mean, eventually I did develop, but I was relatively untalented, especially in the beginning, right? And it's just the bar was so low, and so people were doing it. It's a gold mine. And so, what was I gonna do, right? And my health tanked, my mental health, like, and so I tried to kill myself on January 2nd, 2020. And because I was just so miserable. I was so miserable. And didn't work, obviously. And I just went to a mental hospital. That didn't help me any. And then I just thought, what the hell do I do?
Okay, wait, let's
And
go into this real
I
quick
tried to
because I think
start
a
up
lot of
again.
people are struggling.
Yeah.
Like 2020, I think going back to that whole, when you said you tried in your life and then the mental hospital. I've heard a lot of people say that when they go through a spiritual path. It's almost like because your whole frame of reality is like, poof, like it changes completely. How would you like if people are going through that right now? Like, what would you tell them?
That's a great question. I actually wasn't on the spiritual path then. That didn't happen until 2 years after that. But I I actually have an entire section in my book. My book's called Enlightenment Express, a guide to deep healing, rapid awakening, and life's purpose. And I have two sections on suicide on itself, right? And so I get it. I get why you might be having that feeling. I think a lot have, and a lot don't admit to it. I get why you even wouldn't want to admit to it, right? And it just seems like an attractive option. Like the suffering becomes so intense. You're like, I just can't do this. It's not even like I've had like days where you wake up and you're like, I don't want to be here, or why did I wake up? Like those feelings, right? Shit's too hard, right? But like when it crosses over into you actually want to end life, it's actually kind of it's oddly like a brave thing. Facing annihilation. You're like, it's just this pain is so terrible that I'm going to risk annihilation, right? It's really not it's not easy to do despite like what you think, right? It's really not easy to do. And it's like David Foster Wallace was this famous author who was struggled deeply with mental depression. Right, he wrote Infinite Jest, one of my favorite books, and he killed himself. And he had said, in months before he had killed himself, he had said, those who are on the suicide, that it's like in 9/11 when there's a burning building, you saw people jumping out of the building, right? They didn't want to wake up that day thinking I'm gonna jump out of the building, right? It's either die by flames or die by jumping out. And suicide is like kind of the same thing. It's like either live this horrific life or risk annihilation or whatever happens on the other side. The pain is so strong, I just can't do it anymore. Like you can't describe what it's like to have your brain go sideways, like just completely you lose control. And what I would recommend is, okay, obviously, like people say it does get better, but there needs to be a caveat to that. It does get better if you find something that makes it get better, right? You have, like, for me, it was my awakening. For me, it was
But
my
can you
awakening.
go
And my
into like how did you transition from 2020, this dark moment, to 2 years later you're having this spiritual awakening?
Yeah, so my sister had died 2 years later, and I went into this big depression, and I was already really depressed. And so suddenly, I was like, I reached out to my friend and I said, "Listen, you're the only spiritual person I know." I was an antinatalist. I thought that having children is like awful. You know, life is suffering. Why are you doing this to other people? They didn't ask to come here. Why are you doing this, right? And so that's how dark I was. I was atheist and it was hated. Even if there was a God, I hated him. And so then my sister dies. I'm really depressed. And just, I can't take this anymore. And I reached out to my friend Chris, who's a spiritual person, and I said, "Chris, you help guide people with psychedelics. I need to throw something at this brain that's going to do something." So he goes, "Okay, come out to Canada." So I flew out to Canada. He and my friend Rick, his friend Rick, our mutual friend, they guided me through a psychedelic journey with MDMA and mushrooms. And oh my God, what a perfect mix, right? The MDMA filled me with unconditional love, right? Have you tried this before?
No, no.
Ecstasy?
But I've thought
Oh, you
I've done
haven't?
mushrooms. I did this stuff thing on 2020 was like a catalyst year. I did 20 mushrooms in 2020. It was very powerful for me. But that combination sounds very intense.
It's amazing. You should definitely. I highly recommend. I have a whole section in my book on psychedelics and how it can kickstart an awakening like that, like it did for me. Uh, and yeah, this actually happened not in 2020. This was a few years after. So this is like two and a half years ago. And so it was like 2023 ish. And so it showed me my sister's spirit too. So the MDMA filled me with unconditional love was rewiring my brain, which ecstasy can do, right? And in a guided setting, it's important. And then the mushrooms were the teacher that came in because the anxiety lowers with the MDMA. So you have anxiety about mushrooms, like it goes lowers with the MDMA, filled with love, so that the teacher can come in with the mushrooms. And it showed me what life is. It's what I call a spiritual check-in, where you break the fourth wall of reality. Like, holy shit. And it shows you beyond a shadow of a doubt, you are a soul living out in the human experience as God, not knowing God is God, living out a human experience, and want to learn lessons of love over fear throughout the hardest incarnation in all of the known universe. Like, holy shit. Oh my God. Like, beyond a shadow of a doubt, 100%. You can't describe it. Words will never be able to describe. I saw souls shoot, 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 shoot. I was out of my body. I saw souls zooming down, billions waiting to eagerly incarnate on Earth, and zooming down, incarnating, and souls that had died and passed up coming up, and they were brighter. After the human incarnation, they were brighter, and their soul had expanded. And I met my sister's spirit, and it was like I was ashamed of her, like in a way. I was like, oh, my sister's a heroin addict, you know. But then up there, I was like, oh my God, my sister's a heroin addict. Holy shit. She chose a life. Part of the life script was to come down and experience addiction to try to overcome the addiction. And that was one of her life lessons. And she had like a lot of karma to burn through as well from her previous life. She burned through a shit ton like with that. And it gave me a whole new perspective on life. It's like, what? We're souls? What the hell? Like, what? Right. And I came back down and I was like, "Chris, what was that? What's going on?" And he goes, "Awesome. I want to introduce you to something called non-duality. Non-duality." And so I'm going to pause right there. How familiar? Tell me about your background in non-duality. Tell me. What do you?
Okay. So
What's
let's
your thought?
rewind real quick. Okay, so 2020 I got really depressed and I did mushrooms with one of my guy friends and it's like, yo, it was literally a park. I'm like, oh my God, next time if I do a psychedelic, I'm definitely gonna be in my bedroom in a safe because I feel like cars are driving down and for
Yeah.
me it was very triggering. But yeah, so we ended up driving back to my house and then doing it. But basically, long story short, that kind of opened me, I guess, to non-duality because I was like to the oneness of everything because the first hour was
Mhm.
really bad. Like I've never, I really cried so hard I thought my ribs were gonna break. Like this
Oh,
is like with
wow.
my spiritual friend that's so safe. Like he was just sitting there and he's like, "Whoa, you're okay." Because like I feel like I do all this inner work, I'm all into spirituality and personal development and all this stuff, but for some reason it was all this stuff that I had not processed, and so I was like this, like I was like, "Oh my god, what if my ribs break?" You know, because I was literally
Mhm.
crying that hard. But then it was that extreme to then an hour after that. Thank God I was looking at Safe Space. I like took off all my clothes and I was like, oh my God. I was like, I feel incredible. Wow. I was like, I'm just so grateful to be alive. It's so funny. And he was like, whoa. But yeah, so I guess
It's
I
so powerful.
yes, I guess my experience with non-duality is
Yeah.
I'm still learning about it. It sounds very like just fascinating. But yeah, go into that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And that's amazing. They had a very powerful mushroom experience. Like
But
they're
that's only
such
happened
great.
once, so I'm nervous to do it again.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. And it is like they're very crucial. Right. I even get into in the book is like why. So I some people call God the absolute, the I amness. There's different names for God a lot right throughout history, right? My favorite is the larger consciousness system because it doesn't matter what religion or background you come from. It comes from Tom Campbell, who is a highly enlightened NASA physicist who traveled out of body over 10,000 times into different virtual realities, and he tested it like an experiment. He's the only person in history that's ever done it. He did it with Dr. Robert Monroe from the Monroe Institute. It's pretty famous as well. And they did it together, and they tested spirituality like a physics experiment. And he wrote a book about it. Like he would test it, like add love here, add fear here, what's happening here. Like he would test it in these different virtual realities. He wrote in his book called My Big Toe, TOE, Theory of Everything. So My Big Theory of Everything. It's like a 3 volume book. It's pretty thick, but like and his YouTube channel is fantastic. And all of my spiritual master mentors have confirmed like Tom Campbell's work is legit, right? He explains spirituality mathematically, and it's insane. And he calls it the larger consciousness system, and I like that term too. So the LCS plants mushrooms and different as like power ups for us to give our souls these perspective that breaks the fourth wall of reality. It gives us a bigger picture perspective, which we need because either way, because our finite minds are marching through life, we don't really know what's going on, what is all this, right? But we get these little power ups because God, LCS can't just come out and say, right? Hey, you're actually just a soul, da 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 da, doing this, right? Because that wouldn't be the game. You get the answers to the test, you don't learn anything. And everything down here is about learning because we get the veil of ignorance when we incarnate here, right? We incarnate here and we're here to learn lessons of love over fear because we live in a love fear duality universe, right? That's the duality of the entire universe where love is the infinitely more powerful force than fear by far, okay? And so God wanting to explore itself, it started off, and this is Tom Campbell's, again, many of my mentors have said this as well. They said that like, so it started as God, in order to know itself, wanted to, how do you know yourself, right? How do you know love unless you have the contrast of fear? How do you know black unless you have white? So it started off when it expanded from this infinite point of potential, which I've talked about in many different sacred religions and in history, ancient texts, infinite point of infinite potential, you can call it Big Bang, whatever it may be, calls these chat rooms. It's just an analogy for a chat room where it tested itself to know love just by interacting with each other, but the stakes weren't that high. Kind of like your stakes aren't high when you're chatting to somebody online. But when you go in person, the stakes are high, right? You can really test yourself, right? And so then it developed social systems and it came out and it chose Earth as one of many different places to incarnate to test itself, all right, in love over fear, because the stakes are so high here, right? Are very like we're used to it. We're like, oh yeah, like we get cheated on and we can get murdered and there's diseases that get us, right? And we get cut off on traffic. And every single day we're dealing with an infinite amount of shit hitting us. We're used to it. And we say, what do we say? We say, that's life, right? That's what we say. That's just life, right? But this is many near-death experiencers have come back and said this, and also a lot of my mentors have said this as well. This is the hardest place to incarnate in the entire universe. The hardest. Now, do we know that for sure? No, we don't know anything 100% for certain. And anybody that says it's 100% this is it, like run away from them, right? No, nobody knows 100%. We don't even know, like at the end of our life, we're just gonna, somebody's gonna go booga 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 booga. There was like this, it was all just nonsense virtual reality, right? We don't really know. But if you're gonna trust any information, this is what I did in my book, is I compiled all of the substrate of all the major religions, 24 of my master mentors who are in Brahman consciousness, unity consciousness, and also like I studied all the ancient texts and metaphysics and near-death experiences and my own personal experience, which is the most important. Throw it all together to find a commonality in it all, and then also the practical steps of how you can get to these higher states of consciousness and what it is. If I want to trust anything, it's going to be whatever the common ground is and all of that. One of the common things I heard a lot, this is the hardest place to incarnate. And only the most advanced souls can come here. You can't just throw a baby on Mount Everest. You gotta train, you gotta grow up and train. Like, and so we incarnate on many, many other places before we come here, right? And when you are, so that's why we're highly advanced souls. And so what I saw on my mushroom trip, as well as other meditation experiences, where I left my body and I've experienced samadhi consciousness and unity consciousness, I saw it. I saw it. I was like, oh my God, it's so hard down here. My awakening. So after that mushroom trip, he introduced me to non-duality, started researching it intensely. And he said, you should do a session with this guy in Brahman consciousness, which is the highest state of consciousness. There's like levels of consciousness, right? And he said, do this Zoom meditation. It's a free Zoom. He transmits his energy into you. It's a transmission. And you just, it's free, it's silent. Okay. So I did. This is a few days after my experience. Never meditated before. I don't believe in any, I don't, like, what's that, right? I am about 40 minutes in, so many thoughts are going on, so many thoughts are going on, and then suddenly this white light comes pouring in. My eyes are closed, but I can see a light pounding in, comes from my system. This warm energy breaks up through my spine into the back of my head. And my thoughts go silent. Silent. And I'm about, I don't know, I'm about 2.5 hours into meditation. I've never on my laptop. And I'm like, wow, that is a sign. I got to go to this retreat. And I did. I booked a retreat, meditated silently with him and all of these high-level seekers in non-duality and all that, in Brahman consciousness, unity consciousness, all together. And then my consciousness just expanded like crazy. It just wildly expanded in a very short period of time. That's what his energy does, his transmission.
And that's with Gareth, right?
He calls it. Yeah, good.
Okay.
That's Gareth. Yeah, that was Gareth.
But can we go back real quick, y'all? Can you go into, okay, so what does it mean by, because I think a lot of people are on this journey and they want to expand their consciousness. You know, people are like, raise your vibration. What would you, like, what are the benefits and how would you say that that call benefited you? Just more clarity on your intuition or what?
Yeah, it definitely gives you more clarity and intuition. But so most people think that meditation is like just lower stress and mindfulness, which is great. That's definitely part of it. That's not really what it's about. You're actually opening up a portal to the divine. A literal portal opens up to the divine, right? You're like, hey, and you access higher states of consciousness, your higher self, right? This is where you get communication with the divine. This is where channeling happens, right? The benefits of meditation are far, far beyond what most people think, right? And you cannot explain it. It's very similar to like that come up when you take psychedelics. You're like, oh, something's happening. You know what I'm talking about? You're like, oh, you can feel this shift. Oh, yeah, right? That's what happens when the consciousness shift happens. It's very similar to that, but it's sober. And so the benefit is that you experience the unity of all. Like when I hit unity consciousness, like in pockets, I'm not stabilized in it. As you advance up, you hit pockets of it, right? Like the illusion of separation went away. It's like, oh, we are all one. It wasn't a concept anymore. I
Oh,
was
wow. So
actually,
you can't stay in that, but you can train and stay in it?
yeah. Usually the way it works is like for most people, like you'll hit these levels of consciousness, and I describe this in the book as well. Is like you'll hit your nervous system can't handle a full blown, like not a lot of people can handle. Like it's rare, it does happen. You hear about the Eckhart Tolles of the world where it happens, but like can't handle that amount of sheer God force energy that's happening. So you get an hour, and then maybe like a week later, a month later, you'll get like 2 hours, and then suddenly it'll happen. But it's different for everybody. Maybe it happens for you right away, and you stabilize in it. For a lot of people, it's you'll get pockets of it, right? And when unity happened for me, it was, and this is only like months after I met Gareth, right? This is the value of transmissions, and I speak time and time again about transmissions. Transmissions, like you can meditate and try to get enlightened that way. You go to Vipassana retreats. It takes a long time. There's just no way around it, right? And who has time for that? Transmissions are like spirituality on cocaine, right? When you sit in somebody's resonance field via Zoom, you don't have to be in person. It's the exact same. You do a Zoom meditation with these people who are in high states of consciousness. Your consciousness, you reach samadhi, unity, witnessing consciousness, like God consciousness, cosmic, and then eventually Brahman if you go all the way. And it's like I detail all the different stages. It's like dozens and dozens of things have happened to me. Divine visions, where Divine Mother, Mother Mary, in my version of the Divine Mother Mary, that came up, right? Uh, Jesus came one day, he showed up. Jesus showed up, right? And I'm not saying like Christianity is the way, they like change your virtual private network, your VPN to India, and check out. They're not seeing Jesus; they're seeing like Kali, Krishna, right? So like these are all just representations of the divine that the larger conscious system puts in for us to familiarize ourselves, right? So it's not like God, Christ's path is the only path. It's like what path connects with you. Just so happens I grew up Catholic, and my child heart connected with that. So the larger conscious system showed me Mary, and it showed me Jesus. Right? And that's what it does is when you do transmission with the right people, right? This pure, clean system, right? High level people, then it expands you and expands your consciousness, and you get access to high intuition. Your intuition goes up. Depression and traumas buried to the surface. You cannot run from them. There's no
They
free
come
lunch.
up and then they go out, is what you're saying?
Yeah, they bubble up to the surface and you feel it somatically. And depending on how many transitions you've done, it can be a lot or it can be a little. And you gotta feel it. I mean, there's no free lunch, man. You gotta feel it. And you feel it again, and then you feel it. It's kind of like ice melting. The way it feels for me, at least, is ice melting and then dissipates, and it goes away like vapor, and then you feel better, and that shit doesn't bother you anymore, right? And so that's what this is like you do it again and again and again, and you release. There's lots of different methods for releasing dense energy, right? And I went from this suicidal dude, like I'm feeling pretty good right now, right? Like if you've been talking to me not long ago, like before the awakening, even at the beginning stage, like you'd be talking to, I wouldn't even showed up for the interview. I wouldn't have been able to, I couldn't have done it. I couldn't have done it, right? I couldn't even pretend it. And so it was revealed to me in a samadhi meditation, which I happened to be just 6 weeks after meeting Gareth. I hit something called samadhi, which is I didn't know what was happening to me. It's like, oh my God, there's so much energy. What is going on? I'm alone in my apartment. And I just sat down. I just knew I had to meditate. I closed my eyes and I had this thought, which turned into a mantra. I've never had this thought before. And it was, everything is just energy. Everything is just energy. And then this zipper, it's energetic zipper went down the center of me, right from the top of my head down. And it peeled away Ken, and my higher self, the supreme self, came forward. And then 1,000 downloads a second crashed into my system. The meaning of my life, who my soul is. I was my soul. And then I was operating as my higher self. Like, holy shit, and everything made sense, all of it, it's kind of like when you're on mushrooms and shit, you can't explain it, everything just makes sense. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that feeling.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, it happens in meditation. It happens when you hit samadhi, and it's like, oh my god, like it was all explained to me, and I thought I was there forever. It's like I beat the game of life. I figured it out. Oh my god, I'm a soul. Like this is it. I'm in. This is more powerful than psychedelics. It was sober, and it was like this is in fact. And it went away after an hour. And I texted Gareth. I was like, Gareth, what the hell just happened to me? He goes, describe it to me. And I did. He goes, welcome, Ken. You just hit samadhi for an hour. I was like, what the fuck is samadhi? Like, I didn't know any of this stuff. I was still so new, right? And I'm like, I'm all in. I'm all in. And so non-duality, it's just, everything is two. Non-duality is right down the middle. Everything is two. It's just it lays bare. Christ was teaching about non-duality, the Buddha, all the greatest masters before their messages were distorted. And I detail that in my book. It's like how it was distorted. Or it's like there's no recruiting in non-duality. It's like, hey, you're gonna go to a bad place if you don't be. It's not like that. It's either your soul's ready or it's not. Either you're hearing this message right now and you're. I'm not saying go buy my book. I hope you do, but like, or maybe like you're like, who's this Gareth guy? You go do a session with Gareth, or like, at least it sparks something in you that you're like, an old soul would be like, oh shit, like what is this guy talking about? You'll feel something like I should probably look into that, right? But somebody's not really into like, they're gonna be like, oh, it's not for me, at least not right now. And so you'll know your soul will just like ding 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 ding, it'll ding you, right? It'll ding you, and you'll look into it, and just like it did for me. And I gotta say this, like feeling unconditional love outside of MDMA, I felt that twice. And it was in a session with this guy named Barry, who's my I've got I've got 5 personal mentors that took me in as a personal student. I have 24 that I've trained with and gotten sessions from, but and I detail all of them in my book. And I put a lot, by the way, I put a lot of these on my website. I don't get like an affiliate from it. I don't get any kickback. I want people to go to these people. And they're just the ones that I know. There's got to be tens of thousands of them. They're really, really,
Mm-hmm.
really, really rare. Like they're just the ones that I know. Right. And so I just put them
And
on my
how did you
website.
find these people? It was just kind of divine leading you the breadcrumbs?
Yeah, yeah. It's like, I go to Garrett's retreat, and that's the best part about going to really high level people is that their students also go to other high level people. And so you befriend those people. That's why when you go to retreat, you meet great people. All of them want to become unconditional love. All right. And they're amazing, like truly authentic, not like love and none, and then like they're like shitting on you or talking behind your back, or they're worried about their Instagram posts and how they look. Like none of that. True, like ego dissolution, unconditional love. You just feel the love. Oh my God. Those people have been training on other people in addition to Gareth, right? And those people are like, go to this guy, go to this guy. and so that's how I met different people, right? It's just, that's how it works. It's kind of like networking in the spiritual world. And if you don't have time to go to retreat, that's why I put it on my website. That's why I do these podcasts. It's like, you don't have time to find these people. Thank God I met Chris. He spent years after his awakening. He's like, I'm all in. What just happened to me? He had a samadhi experience as well. He's like, what was that? I'm all in. And he just researched nonstop, quit everything for 3 years besides work. And thank God I met him. And he's like, here's the result of my work. So it helped me. And now it's like, here's the result of my work, and I want to give it and share it to people, right? With whoever it resonates with, right? If that makes sense.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, because I feel like I've been on this path for a while, but I think it's so important to connect with other people on it and to know that you're not alone. Like you're not crazy. You're just connecting to the oneness of everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me ask you this. So have you experienced it's hard to describe these things, but like, what is the best experience you've had in a meditation? Just the meditation, not a psychedelic experience. I'm curious. Have you had anything?
I would say sometimes when I go into meditation, sometimes I forget where I am. Like
Yeah.
there's that split second where I'm always like, oh, I'm Haley. Oh, yeah.
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 That's so cool.
I guess that's
Because I
probably,
gotta, I gotta, yeah, yeah. So have you had, since your awakening, have you had any like extra perceptive psychic, like, can you feel energies differently? right? Can you feel
That's
you're
always been
extra?
that way, though. I'm an empath.
Oh, yeah, you've always been that way?
Yes, I feel like
Yeah?
I've always been very empathic, but I want to see, like, sometimes I have visions. I want to get better at being clairvoyant and clairaudient.
Okay. Okay.
But
The
I
way,
like,
yeah.
yeah.
So the way to do that is to go to these people and do sessions with them. I said the exact same thing in my last session with Barry, who is insane. He has this, I said, I want to develop, like, I want to be a channel, I want to develop these abilities. And so he goes, here's how you do it. And he takes you in and they teach you how to do it. Right. And so, um, getting these personal mentors is the greatest thing. And they're not even that expensive. Like some of them, it's like, I don't know, maybe like $100 an hour, 125 an hour. Some of them it's like 75 an hour, right? So because they have to charge something to live in the world, right? And they're not charging a lot of money, you know. You're a media guru that's charging like $1,000 an hour. Run away, like get away, right? Like come on. These people aren't like balling, but they live in full abundance. They're not afraid of losing money because God always provides for them, right? The larger consciousness always provides for the people that are playing the game well. Okay, and so they don't have any fear of it. They just don't. They truly don't. They're not just saying that. Okay, and so you can go to these people and they'll train you how to be clairvoyant, and you'll do it in session live with them, and then they'll give you homework. And so they were like, okay, Ken, tap in. Okay, and what they do is what Barry does, and this is like the most multi-talented, enlightened person out of all of them. He does with his twin flame couple, Barry and Karen. They just open up a portal to your higher self. They don't do anything, and they go, okay, and they just guide you, right? They just with questions, and you do it yourself. And I'm connected to my higher self. This is 2 days ago. Like I'm fully connected. Like I can't describe what it's like to be connected to myself. God, even the fact that I'm even saying those words right now is crazy. And he goes, ask it. Okay, he knows when you're connected. This is what they got like X-Men powers. He goes, okay, you're connected now. I can see it. Like I didn't even tell him I was connected. He goes, you're connected now. I was like, yeah, I'm connected. He just knows that. And he goes, now ask any question. Here's a recommendation for a question. Okay. And he goes, ask if it is right for you to become a channel at this stage of your life. And if so, to give you a yes. Before I ask that question. And he goes, first test if there's a yes or a no. So I said, give me a yes and give me a no. A yes was like expanded consciousness and light. My thoughts went down. And a no was this hard crystalline, hard feeling, right? And then he goes, so you have a yes and a no now. Now ask your question and get a yes or a no. And I got a no. Like I got a hard crystallized no. I'm not supposed to be a channel right now, right? So it's like that's just one of many examples of how you can develop your abilities. So this you can do this if you want to do that. You just train with somebody.
Yes, I love that, and I really think that what I want to add is like I think that this is so important because so many people can't hear their intuition because obviously you're aware of this too. There's so much noise in the world with like social media and the news and TV, and it's just like so much information is coming at us. So
Yeah,
sometimes it's hard
it's
to
flooding.
tune and hear us.
Man, it is. This is one of the hardest times to incarnate for. It's also one of the easiest but hardest because we have access to people like never before. These mentors and high level people, right? It's also one of the hardest because we're getting commanded and demanded all the time, like you said, by so much media, and so our minds are all over the place, right? And it's no coincidence that like with the increase of all the things hitting our mind, and suicide rates and depression and stuff are skyrocketing out the roof, and now with AI and all that's only going to get worse, right? And so it was literally revealed to me in my samadhi experience, as well as 4 other meditative. And when I say revealed, it wasn't like, what did my ego think about that? It was like, no, I was smacked, like my consciousness just smacked me over the face and showed me, like, and I couldn't escape it. It was showing me what I'm supposed to do. And also 3 other people in session, 3 other high level spiritual masters that don't know each other. They each were like, Ken, I'm getting a channel message right now. You're supposed to write a book and you got to go out and teach people. And I was told that you've been asking what you're supposed to do with your life. And I'm telling you right now, this is what you're supposed to do. This is the message. One came from Christ, another came from Krishna, and the other came from a person channeling my higher self. And so I was told 3 different times. And also I felt it in meditation 4 times. I was like, okay, fine, I'll write the book. I'll write it because I was ready, right? I had enough experiences, right? I was no longer super depressed, right? And I had enough trauma removal that I was like, okay, now I know it was revealed to me, it's time. And so I sat down every day for 2 months, 2.5 months, 8 to 12 hours a day, researching nonstop, just compiling together. And it's like 600 pages long. Okay, it's a little bit long, but I'm trying to put in as much practical information, all of the experiences of everybody. I'm trying to explain the entire universe and everything that's happening to not just to me, but like mixing everything together. From it's a lot of research that went into this, right? And I'm a former news reporter, so I'm not like a newbie to writing, right? So I put it all in the book to help as many people, and you don't you don't make money from a book. Like I didn't do it for money. Like you don't make money as an author. Like you don't. Like it's purely like a labor of love to help people. And now I'm going on podcasts too, like yourself, with people that align too, not just any podcast. Like I saw, I was like, your energy, by the way, now that I can feel energy is like really, really well. Your energy is really good. Like if I met you on the street, I'd be like, oh, she's an old soul. Oh yeah, she's got
Oh,
really,
thank you.
really yeah. Have you heard this before?
Yes, I have.
You have, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel
I feel like I'm
here
90,
that
but
I
I'm
know,
only
but like
34.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're like wise beyond your years, but also you carry this energy that's very resonant. Like I can't see auras, but imagine if I could, it'd be like this indigo aura coming off of you. And I think that's what listeners resonate to, because they're just listening to the audio. They can actually feel the transmission of your positive energy coming through the audio.
Thank
And tell
you.
me how did yeah, I feel it. I want to know a little bit about you. So tell me, uh, that's how my awakening started, and I've been on the path, and I've had dozens of mystical experiences and all that, right? And so, I'm curious, how long have you been on your awakenings? I know your listeners probably know. How long have you been on your awakening experience? Like,
Well, I don't know. Okay. I feel like I've had 20 lives. Basically, I got fired from corporate like 10 years ago.
mm,
So since then, it was like I got on like this really long path. I haven't really shared my whole story, but basically, I went on the spiritual path. Ended up working in a yoga studio. This is
okay,
like 9 years ago or whatever. Then I got my health coaching degree, certification. Got into all that. Then that's when I started showing up on social media. But then I ended up thinking I was like repressed sexually, and I was like I had some trauma around that. Went on this sexual healing retreat in Costa Rica, and that
nice.
my family thought I was running a cult, which is so funny. Ended up interviewing the founders on my podcast. Way new. That's like one of the first few episodes. But basically, so many people have so much healing around the whole sexual energy thing. But basically,
Mm,
my parents thought I was joining a cult when I went to Costa Rica, but that was in 2018. But I think a lot of it has just been like me following these, even like how I find people to interview, you know. But a lot of it has been just following my like what Bajar talks about following your
yeah,
highest excitement and following your joy.
that's right. What's it called? It
Yeah.
calls it the formula.
Yes.
That's what it
Yes. The
calls.
formula. The
Follow
formula.
the formula.
Yeah, because even now I
Mm,
still feel like I've been in kind of a weird place where I'm just like continuing to follow the path. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean that's
yeah.
my story, kind of in a currently celibate. That's kind of in like a shorter version, but I've always been spiritual. I just really have been leaning more into it because even the health coaching. I mean, talk about meal plans is boring. Then sex part got kind of fun, and then I kind of experimented a lot during that period too. But then I was like, after a while, this is very unfulfilling, and then I got to yeah, which you know that after a while you're like, okay, how you know.
It just all
There's only so
aligns.
much you
Yeah,
can
I
talk
feel like
about orgasms.
yeah. I get it. I get it. You're true. It's very true. And I think that you're on this eclectic journey. Like you're a very eclectic person. You've got a lot of a wealth of life experiences and very young too. And so like you said, you've lived many lives in one life, and that's the story here of a lot of my mentors, a lot of my people. They've lived many many lives in one life, right? And so they they all have like these. They're what I aspire to be. Um, they all are so authentic that they see challenges and triggers in life as going inwards. Like, oh, why did I react that way? They're like, it wasn't that person. They never say it was that person. They always say that's something inside me that got triggered. This is how you know you're like in the right guru land, in the right group. It's like how much are people bitching about other people, and how much are they looking in? the most enlightened people ever, all of the enlightened texts, all of the many books that I read, all the people I go to that are high level, they all look inward every time. Right? This is how you know you're in the right group, right? And we talked before the podcast. You said you went to some sweat lodge and there was somebody that was creepy, like that was leading it, right? And that happens, right? So there's levels to this game, right? We'll say that that's like level 2, okay? And it's not one is better than the other, right? It's just it's level 2, okay? And the next level will be like, say, Aaron Doughty. Aaron Doughty has really good information about, he's a famous YouTuber and Instagrammer about raising your vibration. But he talks about raising your vibration like a million times, right? In a million different ways, okay? And when I was awakening, I was like, going to people like Doughty and all these people, like, it's too much information. Like, oh my God, I don't have time to go to 300 videos. And which one's the best video, right? And so I was like, I wish somebody had a book that just gave me like 80% of what I need to know and did all the research for me. No nonsense. And that's what my book is. It's like, no nonsense. This is it. Read this, and it'll get you started on the thing that does the thing for you, right? As fast as possible. And then let's say that above that is like Eckhart Tolle is like highly enlightened, okay? And but his book, I read Power Now. It's great. It's not saying you need to do this. I need my hand held. That's who I was. Like, I'm like, how? You're telling me to let go? How? What does that even mean? What does it mean to let go? Everyone, what? What does it mean to trust the universe? What does it even mean? How do you even do that, right? Like, and then the highest level is like people that are like in Brahman consciousness, like really, really high states with these spiritual powers of like reading your thoughts. I have my thoughts read to me, and way beyond like reading lives, they can actually go in, take a fear of yours. They know where it came from. They can say the moment it came from and take it out of you. That level, we'll call that like the highest level. Okay. And so there's levels to this game, and we'll say like Jesus is like way up here. Okay, there's levels to the game. Okay, and so my goal is to get people as fast as possible to the highest levels. Right? And again,
can we go over this real quick there before we close up?
Yeah.
I want you to discuss about fear, because that's a big thing, and that's something I still deal with. Can you go into that person that helped you remove some of your fears? Like,
yeah, that's Eva, who's also on my site. There's Barry and Karen, who still do one-on-ones, and so in the one-on-one session, they'll just go in and they'll say, we've identified a fear. It looks like, it's a trauma that happened when you were 9 or whatever it was. And some of them can actually say, I see it was caused by that person that raped you. They actually see the moment. They have access to the Akashic records for all information and energy is stored and held. And so they have access to that, so they can see it. And they explain in the book how they do that. Like, how do you do this crazy shit? So they go into the spot, and I feel some energy centers after meeting Gareth that started opening. So it was easier for their energies to go in. And it was like the claw machine, the claw and like that toy machine. And it grabbed it, and I felt it lift it up and out of my body. And it wasn't fully removed, but a big chunk of it was. And this happened with a lot of my fears. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. It sounds not real. Listen, all the things that I've talked about don't sound real. Like, don't believe a word I say. Like, the most important thing, because these are all just concepts right now. The most important thing is to get that in your lived experience, because it's one thing to talk about how mint chocolate ice cream tastes. You just got to taste it, right? You just got to taste it. And I want people to get there as fast as possible.
yes, and I'm so glad you talk about that too, because you're right. We can all listen to the spiritual podcast. Because I've even been to Joe Dispenza, his meditation retreat. Mm-hmm. So you can go to some of the meditation retreats, the Buddhist monasteries, but you have to actually experience it in person.
You do. You got to experience it, right? But it's like, again, it's like, let it go. It's all love and light. Nothing's real. It's all hologram. It's like, okay, that doesn't help me any, right? It's fun, right? Like I was so angry. I was so angry so many times. Like, that doesn't help me any. And so it's like, I want my handheld. Tell me exactly what to do. And then as your consciousness expands and you reach higher states of consciousness, then shit just starts making sense. Then it starts making sense, right? And you're like, you get these moments like, yeah. Oh, that's what he was talking about, right? You got to get those moments. Then it gets better.
Okay, so tell everybody, what would you want your final takeaway to be?
Yeah, go out and get a transmission as fast as you can. Like,
Okay.
seriously, go out and find. You can go to my website, find these people, test it out with them, or maybe you just go find one on your own. It was hard for me. I have Chris who helped me, but like, get a transmission as fast as you can. Uh,
Who would you recommend? Like, because you mentioned several people. Would you say Gareth?
Yeah, so he does group. A lot of them, like Eva and Gareth, offer free meditations where they transmit their energy, and it's great. You can do group meditation with them. It's like $30, and they can do more individual work with a small group, which is really powerful. They don't do one-on-ones anymore because they like have a lot. They got a lot more people following them now. But yeah, I would say you can do one-on-one with Barry and Carrie, which is like probably the most enlightened people I've met in my life. They're also on my site. But then you can do one if you want to understand who you are and what your purpose is. Like in one setting, go to Fabio. He's like the most enlightened guy in all of Portugal. He trained several of my master mentors, right? And he just goes right into it. And he speaks English and he's like, okay, I see it right now. This is you. This is what you were in your last life and 3 lives. And he's in your energy. My energy centers are exploding. And he's saying like, this is what you do. This is what you do. He nailed me. He like read me like a book without even knowing anything about my name. And he goes, this is what you do. And he removes traumas. If there's any dark entities attached to you, he removes them. Right? So I would do him. And then I describe other people and what their skill sets are on my site. But there's a whole host of them and what they do. But those are a really good start to kickstart you into an awakening. Also, if you want to do psychedelics, don't use them as a tool. Don't like get addicted to them or anything. But like you're really in a hard spot, MDMA and mushrooms are a great way to get you reconnected, rewire some circuits in a safe setting. I also detail in my book how to do that. Like that's a great way to. I just want people to get there as fast as possible, right? No more wasting time in this enlightenment and awakening. Let's get there quick, right? Let's do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, totally feel you on that. Yeah. Definitely don't do like I did as a newbie. You just do it in a park and you kind of freak out. Thank God I was like 5 minutes away from my house. Then we came here and it was a way better.
So true.
Yes. Safe setting is so important.
Very true. Very true. I'm glad you made it out of that unscathed. Yeah, I made some mistakes too on that path. And a lot of people don't like to talk about psychedelics. It's like eventually the master mentors, they've all used them in the beginning, most of them. They've all graduated from it. Once they reach a certain high state, psychedelics don't really do anything for them anymore, right? So they don't really need them. Don't use it as a crutch. Use a tool to help you re-kick some things going, right? And break the fourth wall of reality to show you what reality really is. Use it for that. And then the meditation and transmissions will take you the rest of the way.
Yes, because I want to add that real quick before we end it. I think that is really important that you do bring that up because there are a lot of people that are literally like that's kind of where I was, where you could. It's like you need for where you. It sounds like where you are too, where you need something to. Because even sometimes meditation and some of that stuff is not enough, or you don't know about all that until now. Those people that do the transmissions, because I didn't know about that until I heard your podcast.
Yeah, I didn't. I think most people don't know that, right? They're like, "What's a transmission?" Wait, what?
Yeah.
How is this not?
There's a lot of psychedelic assisted therapy now, and it's pretty big in a lot of the cities. But I think that you have to find a safe person, right?
Yeah, which is not easy, right?
Yeah, there's a whole other thing on that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you probably covered that in some previous podcast episodes. You're like, how do you trust somebody?
Yes. Well, I did. This was a while back. I did an episode with an inner child coach, and he was talking about the dangers of people doing ayahuasca and how, like, if it's not in a safe setting, like entities can come in. Yeah.
That's right. I have a section in my book about that as well. Yeah, they literally steal your joy. The shaman can steal your joy. Astral entities can come in and embody you. It's not good. It's not good. It can help, but it's not for everybody.
Yeah. All right. Well, y'all, I'm going to place Ken's links below. I feel like we dove really went deep on this one. I love y'all's feedback. Thank you so much for joining me. This is a really powerful episode.
This is amazing. I love your energy again, Haley, and I love the mission that